Why do people who come on the spiritual path sometimes turn their backs on their friends, act coldly or indifferent? Why is this? I received this question from a friend, and there is some truth to this as well. There's two sides to many questions. One is that a new spiritual aspirant is often advised to go away from one's normal life, go on retreat, maybe in some traditions go into a monastery for a while. In any case, to protect their newly awakened seed plant of spiritual striving, to protect it from the abuse and ridicule of maybe friends and family. So there's a time-honored truth that a newbie on the spiritual path is often advised not to read any other books or watch movies or entertainment except those things pertaining to their path. And that's good advice, generally speaking, to nurture that seed of awakening. That's not an excuse for such a person, however, to be cold and indifferent to their friends. Even if it's true that, let's say I had some drinking buddies and I suddenly have an awakening and I start meditating and I start going to satsangs and studying the path of yoga and practicing and having long meditations. What happens when my drinking buddies invite me out to the local pub? Well, I don't suggest doing that. And so to a certain degree, finding new friends who share your spiritual journey, is exactly the right thing to do. Maybe if you're pressured, I know of a story where some drinking buddies showed up at a monastery and tried to drag their friend away. So normally you don't have to be cold, only in cases where you're really being harangued by especially your family, more likely than your friends, but sometimes you do have to put on a stern face. But it's no excuse for disliking or judging your friends or your family. It may take some time to be on your own, and it's also, though this wasn't the question, the worst thing we can do, newbies on the path, is try to proselytize and convince everybody we know that they ought to join your path too. I don't think that ever works. I've never known an instance where it did. And so there's two sides to that. You see, there's the new spiritual aspirant sort of turning their back, but there's also the new spiritual aspirant who thumps their Bible or their Bhagavad Gita. So there is truth to this question both ways. Truth that it may be important for the person to shelter themselves from former influences, and it may be true that somebody in doing that might be unfriendly about it, and that, of course, isn't right. So the spiritual path, Yogananda said, is like running down the street while juggling. There's so many, about this, if and that, and what about this, and what about that. It takes intuition. Intuition is the great gift of the practice of meditation, to know how to act in any given circumstance. So take that within yourself. Don't be too hard on friends who are chasing you down to go out for a drink, if that's your situation. Be kind in all cases, but also firm and stern with respect to yourself. Swami Kriyananda, I remember him making the statement that if you on the spiritual path, finding yourself sort of daydreaming and visualizing your friends or your family enjoying their material pleasures and pursuits and so forth, sort of fondly or nostalgically, be warned, sadhu, that pleasure in the mind is the first step in your fall from grace. Spiritual path is like a razor's edge. All right.